And we're recording. All right. Hey, everybody. Kelsey Komorowski here, founder of Como and the Framework for Academic Management. I'm joined today by Peter, who is one of our incredible clients, and his story about his experience with university applications I know will resonate with a lot of you, slash all of you who are about to go through this. So Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share your story with us. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. So Peter, why don't we start off? Tell us your situation right now.
So right now it is August 20th and I'm going up to school in, I think, just under 2 weeks. I'm pretty excited. I'm a little nervous, but
Overall.
I'll figure it out.
And what school are you going to and what program are you taking?
So I'm going to Queen's and for a Bachelor of Arts, and I am majoring in psychology.
Awesome. Okay. So 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even 1 year ago, did you know I'm going to go to Queen's? That's my first choice. I'm going to study psychology. Were you clear and confident with that from the get-go?
Absolutely not.
That's a hard no. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's rewind it then. If you can kind of take us back. And for you, I don't know whether you want to start in grade 10 or grade 11, but like for you, when did the university, like, oh, this is going to happen, I have to start thinking about this, kind of set in?
Yeah. So I would say grade 11 was when I first started actually thinking about it, like pretty early grade 11, like where I'm going to go and like, holy, this is getting close. I'm going to have to make a decision. And I don't know. I honestly, in grade 11, I thought I was going to go to Queen's Commerce.
Okay.
And then because of all the work we did together, I kind of realized that that wasn't for me, which I honestly may not have figured out if I didn't have this.
Okay, interesting. So let's unpack that a little bit. So in grade 11, it's feeling real.
Mm-hmm.
What were you, and this is obviously a very candid conversation. Like, did you want help with this? Were you not wanting help? And if what was your situation with essentially going through this solo versus not?
I would say I definitely wanted help with it. I don't know. I don't know what I wanted, but I'm very happy that I ended up getting help. I think it would have been a nightmare to try and figure it out on my own. And not that it's actually that hard, but just, I don't know, it helps to have a guide and something keeping you on track and keeping you organized. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's go with that. Cause that is one of the things that we hear, probably top one or two things that we hear, where it's like, how do you actually how do you actually know, like, there's so many different schools, different programs, like, so
Mm-hmm.
even for just figuring out, what programs, like for you, if you can share how.
Sorry, there's a ring at the doorbell.
Oh, no worries.
All good.
All good. Okay.
Where were we?
We were with, right. Just that whole, where do I even start? Right. That's like one of the things that our kids tell us so much. And even our parents being like, there's so many programs. Sometimes it's like, well, I know I'm going to do commerce, or I know I'm going to do arts, or I know I'm going to do that. So for you, even just like going through that process, kind of what had you expected it to be like to even kind of home in on, what programs are out there? What do I want to do versus like, what was it actually like for you to go through that?
I think, could you repeat it?
Yeah, sure. So the process, like basically, like what were you expecting it to be like to kind of go figure out, even from starting with, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do Queen's Commerce, to kind of just figuring out like what programs, because before you even apply, we have to figure out what schools are going to apply to.
Yeah.
So what was that process like for you, that experience?
I don't know if I was expecting anything. It was definitely, I mean, even with you, it's just overwhelming how many choices there are, right? And I don't know, you just don't know, and you don't know how to make that decision, how to narrow it down, whatever. And I don't know, I would say if I hadn't done it with you, I would have done it in a much more disorganized way and a much less efficient way. And I may not have come to the decision that I came to.
Okay. Okay. Love that. So with the organization, like what would you say the way, because obviously like, yeah, we have our process, we walk through it in certain steps. For you, what was the thing that made the biggest difference for you? Like you've mentioned, having a guide and being organized, but was there one thing or two things in particular that, to share with our grade 11, grade 12, or even the parents,
Yeah.
that's like super important?
Well, first of all, just the fact that so we would have meetings once a week, I think, sometimes a bit more, sometimes less. So just the fact that I was always staying on it and always doing something, because I wouldn't have done that on my own. Honestly, I probably would have left stuff more to the last minute, and I wouldn't have been prepared, and it would have been a mess. And also just the way you broke everything down. So instead of looking at it as this big, like, look at all these schools and all these programs, whatever, it would be, okay, you like psychology, so let's look at psychology programs at this school, this school, this school, this school, this school, and then let's look at their specific classes, and then see which one looks like it would resonate with you the most.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that. Yeah, very just very methodic drilling down. And also you did, I don't want to say warn, but I'm going to use that word, when we first met and you're like, I tend to procrastinate. Like that's kind of what I'm known for.
And it was, I liked, you made sure I stayed on track, but you also weren't too hard on me.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
You were, you understood I had other stuff going on too, and you were patient, but.
Okay. Appreciate that. That's great. So yeah, that just kind of that momentum. Yeah, spot on. You're so right. And I think probably half of the families that reach out each year for us, they reach out in like November, December. And it's exactly kind of that other path that you didn't end up on, where it's like, where it's crunch time and we haven't done any of the legwork. So starting early and staying consistent with it, huge. Accountability buddy, definitely helpful. Okay. And then when it came to actually doing the applications, because this is another thing, like, when it comes at a certain point, like the programs you're applying to, for the most part, people have similar grades, like people have similar extracurricular profiles. So we always look at the statements as like, this is super important, right? Any of the written aspects. So again, just like for you, what were your fears, or what did you think would be challenging about that versus how did it actually play out for you?
I don't know if I had any actual fears for it. I was obviously dreading getting it done. But I don't know. It was just something I had to do. And again, your organization definitely made it better. And funnily enough, the ones that we did together were all the schools that accepted me first. So like Queens was my first acceptance. I don't know if you remember that. That was in like February. Yeah. And that was the PSE we did together, personal statement of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that all of those first acceptances were that. That's awesome though.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think it was a coincidence.
Amazing. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit, and especially, and I know, Peter, this wasn't necessarily for you, but we do have like a lot of students who look at the writing, and I feel like it's a binary. It's either like, oh well, whatever, it's just an essay, like it's fine, and they don't necessarily get how it's different than just an essay. Versus I'm so bad at writing. How am I ever going to get myself down on paper to stand out? So just kind of those things in mind for you, like that process, because we went through, like you said, we were going through iterations. But what did you find for you made the biggest difference to actually, like, I like how you said it, like, I had to get it done, but for it not to be terrible, for it not to suck, like.
Yeah. So I remember, Aaron was doing it at the same time.
He's another one of our Rockstar clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's my friend and yours. And I remember asking him, I was like, do you ever put this much work into an essay? Because I had never, and he was like, yeah, like normally, but yeah, it's a lot of work. And I'm like, so maybe I don't work hard enough. Anyway, that's a bit aside from the point, but what I'm trying to say is we just kept going until it was almost, I don't want to say perfect, but pretty close. Like we were just constantly working on it, which I guarantee I wouldn't have done. I maybe would have done like 3 iterations, but we just kept drilling it, kept getting rid of every little flaw or whatever, and I think it turned out pretty nice using that process.
It did. Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't use perfect either, but close too. Because at a certain point, like,
Mhm.
you know, based on the messages that you want to get across, based on your profile, based on what you want to put into it, it's gonna. And I think actually that final where it's like, is this it? And
Yeah,
you're like, Kelsey, this is it.
yeah.
Like, it's the one.
It felt good to be done, and it felt good to be confident about submitting it too.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, that's a really, I love that you just said that. I want to ask you about that because that confidence piece, at the end of the day, no matter what the outcome is, first of all, if you get set up and you do it right, you're much more likely to have a good outcome, right? Like to get the offers from the schools you want. But regardless, because we never know for sure, that confidence is so important. Like, do you think the organization, the accountability was key to that? Or were there other aspects at play for you to like really come away feeling like, hey, I did good work. Like I feel really good about these applications.
Yeah, just the thoroughness of everything. Like because we put the time into to looking into individual programs and stuff, I felt confident in my choice or my choices. And because we put the time into working on it and seeing all the versions and how it evolved, I'd definitely say you made me feel more confident.
That's so great. That's music to my ears. All right, Peter, thank you so much. I think that that about covers like the gist, the bulk of the story here. And just to zoom out, and you guys, one of the reasons I was so happy Peter agreed to come on is because it's that whole looking at this mountain of like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to end up in the right place? How am I going to get through it? Like, and Peter, you're a pretty chill guy, right? And for you to have had those like, wow, this is overwhelming. And a lot of students come into this already with anxiety and it can just be feel like such a weight. And the way that, you went through it and just like showed up and did it. And it didn't have to be this horrible or big deal. And it was just something that you got done beautifully and
Mm-hmm.
big party celebration when you got your first choice, which is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So Peter, is there anything, if you looked back at yourself this time last year, so when you were going into your last year of high school,
Yeah.
anything that you wish you would have known or anything that you would tell yourself?
Um, Honestly, not really. I think it went about as smoothly as it could have gone. Um, I probably would have told myself to relax, but other than that,
I love that. Yeah, relax. This is
making
like,
right
oh,
choice. You're going down the right way. You got this.
that's awesome. Okay, let me also rephrase this a bit for our audience. For
Mhm.
any parents of kids going into grade 12s or for any students, so like your age, 17, 18, going into grade 12, and they're either, and especially right now with COVID, so obviously things are different, but
Yeah, yeah.
what
Well,
would,
it'd be even harder, even more.
yeah, what tips, any like one or two top things that you would recommend or caution just based on your own experience of how ultimately well this ended up going for you that you would advise to them or that you would want them to know?
Um, I want to say there's more time than you think, but I also don't want to be misleading because at the same time it does come quicker. But I guess what I'm trying to say is don't stress too much about it when you still have time to make a decision, and you will make a decision because eventually you just have to. Um, and on that as well, you can always change your mind. I didn't realize how much freedom I had, like even after applying,
Mhm.
even once you make your choice, you can even decline it and then accept another offer. Um, but in terms of advice, it would mainly just be calm down.
That's excellent advice. That might be the heading of this interview when it goes up. Calm down, deep breaths. Okay, awesome. Peter, thank you so much. And you guys, for anyone watching, this whole experience for Peter with figuring out, where his true passions lie as far as psych over commerce, having this really good experience. And to be fair, like Peter put in the work, right? Like this is for students who don't necessarily want to put in the work that it takes to have a good experience. You know, it's a lot harder, but Peter, this all started for him. His mom made a phone call. We talked about her fears. She had, I think, more fears than you did about this whole process.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, when I say I'm a big procrastinator and not very organized, I'm not kidding. And I think it does worry her.
It certainly did. But all that to say, parents, if you're watching, there is going to be a link under this. Book a call if you'd like to talk. If you have a kid going into grade 12, they're looking at applications. It can be a really positive, relatively chill / calm down experience. Book that call. We can talk and figure out what your kid wants to do. And otherwise, Peter, thank you so much again for coming on. Really appreciate your candor as always. And have the best, hopefully not super weird, transition to Queens.
Yeah, thank you.
And have a great term, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch. All right, everybody watching, have a good one, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.